Leo, something sacred and serious is unfolding in your energy field right now. Over the next 72 hours, a hidden plan is coming to light, a spiritual storm disguised as confusion, emotional overwhelm, or misplaced intuition. This isn't just another horoscope update. This is your cosmic call to take shelter not in fear, but in faith. So if you're here, watching this moment with me, understand this: it is not by chance. The alignment of your energy with this message is part of something much bigger, something divine. The universe has drawn you into this sacred space, into this moment of stillness, because your soul knows what your conscious mind is only beginning to sense. From September 8th to 10th, Leo, you're entering one of the most energetically sensitive portals of the month. The Sun, your ruling planet, the very heart of your astrological identity, is forming a tense opposition to Neptune. This is not an ordinary transit. It blurs boundaries between what's real and what's illusion. And when that veil thins, spiritual interference becomes more likely. Mixed messages, subtle manipulation, internal fog. You may begin to second-guess yourself, your path, or even your worth. On top of that, Mars is stirring tension deep in your psyche. You may feel like something is building inside you, like pressure with no outlet. It can lead to impulsive action if you're not grounded. But this moment, Leo, is not for reaction. It's for revelation. So let me ask you, have you been feeling it already? A quiet urgency? A whisper you can't explain? Maybe it's a dream that won't leave you, a synchronicity too precise to ignore, or a rising sense that something invisible is about to unfold. If so, I want you to know you're not imagining things. You're not being dramatic. You're being prepared. Because what's coming isn't a disaster. It's a divine test. This isn't about fear. It's about power. And your power, Leo, isn't always in your roar. Sometimes, your greatest strength is in your stillness. In your ability to recognize a trap without stepping into it. To pause. To pray. To protect your energy by simply not reacting. So I invite you now, breathe. Let your nervous system settle. Let your soul recognize this message as a lighthouse in the storm. And if something inside you knows this is for you, if your intuition is already saying yes, then I want you to write in the comments right now, "I take refuge in the light." That one sentence becomes your energetic declaration. A message to the universe, to the unseen realms, that you choose alignment over anxiety. You choose clarity over chaos. You choose faith over fear. Let me take a moment to thank you deeply for being here. Every comment you write, every like you leave, every time you share or subscribe, helps us extend this healing space to more souls seeking clarity and truth. You are part of this sacred family of light now. Your presence matters. And trust me, Leo, want to stay with me until the very last second of this video, because what the universe is about to reveal through this 3-day window is nothing short of miraculous. Let's begin. Leo, as we step deeper into the sacred space of this message, I invite you to imagine something with me. Picture yourself walking through a forest at night, not the kind filled with howling winds or crackling branches, but one that is silent, thick with fog, and strangely familiar. You can't see the path clearly. The moonlight doesn't reach the ground. The trees around you whisper stories, but they speak in riddles. There's no map, no sign, no obvious direction. All you carry with you is a torch, its flame flickering softly. That torch is your intuition, your discernment, your quiet faith. And in the next 3 days, that torch will be everything. From September 8th to 10th, you are not merely moving through dates on a calendar, navigating a spiritual terrain where clarity will not come from logic or speed. These 3 days form a sacred triad. A sequence of energy that challenges your perception, your emotional regulation, and your alignment with higher truth. On September 8th, the emotional traps begin. You may find yourself questioning everything: your worth, your direction, your relationships. The emotion might come not as a roar, but as a subtle erosion, like water slowly washing away the edges of your inner strength. On this day, the temptation is to react. But true mastery is found in the pause. Then comes September 9, the most potent of these 3 days. A dark energy may rise, not evil, but misaligned. Neptune's shadow casts illusions over what feels real. You might feel drawn to act impulsively, to correct something that feels wrong, to chase after a sense of peace that seems just out of reach. But this is the day where false light will try to mimic truth. When the mind spins stories that stir old wounds, and when even your own voice might feel like a stranger's. The message from the heavens is this: don't believe everything you think. Observe your thoughts, but don't marry them. This is not a time to move fast, it's a time to lean into stillness. Even Jesus, in the Gospels, withdrew into silence when the crowds misunderstood him. Stillness is not weakness. It's wisdom. And then, as the cycle completes, we reach September 10th. This is your day to rise again. To pick up the sword of clarity and declare peace, not through struggle, but through surrender to truth. If you've kept your flame lit through the forest, you'll find yourself at the edge of the trees with dawn breaking across the horizon. You'll begin to see what was once obscured. You'll understand why waiting was wiser than warring. On this day, something inside you shifts, a realignment. What once felt like a plan meant to sabotage your path now becomes a doorway to a higher version of yourself. This moment in time, Leo, isn't about fighting enemies outside of you. The real threat is the thought you didn't question. The inner story you didn't rewrite. The shadow you refused to see as your teacher. What makes this particular energy so subtle and therefore so dangerous is that it doesn't scream. It whispers. It convinces. It confuses. And so your power will not be found in loud affirmations or grand gestures. It will come from grounded presence. From observing your triggers without letting them speak for you. From trusting that God does not leave his children to wander without light. In this forest, your light is enough. But only if you choose to carry it. So if this speaks to your heart, let the universe hear you. Comment below and write, "I carry the light through the dark." That simple act of engagement is more than symbolic. It's spiritual alignment. It's a declaration that you will not fall into the trap of urgency or fear. You will wait upon the Lord, and in that stillness, your strength will be renewed. And now, Leo, let's continue. Because what lies ahead is not just a warning, it's a preparation for your divine restoration. The storm does not always come with thunder. Sometimes it arrives in the silence between your thoughts, in the invisible shift of emotional pressure that builds like weather inside your soul. Leo, as you walk further into the forest of these 3 days, you may start to feel unsettled, but not necessarily because of what's happening outside. It might be a message that arrives at the wrong time. A text that hits a nerve. A sudden opportunity that seems too good to be true and yet leaves you questioning whether you're good enough to receive it. Or maybe it's just a sentence spoken by someone close to you, a simple remark that unexpectedly rattles the foundation of how you see yourself. This is the nature of the storm we're entering now. It's not external chaos. It's not a collapsing building or a shattered mirror. It's the subtle but persistent shaking within, the kind that leaves no physical trace, but alters your orientation entirely. This is not a tower falling in the outer world. This is the reverse tower, like in the cards of Tarot, a symbol that tells us the true upheaval is internal. When this card appears inverted, it means that what threatens to crumble is not your life, but your perception of control. The security you've built around certain beliefs, especially about yourself, is being quietly questioned, not by others, but by your own soul. These coming days are less about reacting to what's being said or done, and more about discerning where your own mind is trying to sabotage your peace. A thought left unchecked can spiral into a storm all on its own. A whisper of insecurity can become a roar of self-doubt if you feed it too long. The danger lies not in the message itself, but in how quickly you interpret it through old wounds. And Leo, you've carried enough fire within you to know this: sometimes the heat is not coming from the world. It's coming from you. But this is not a time to condemn yourself for that. It's a time to notice. To witness. To pause and ask, is this thought truly mine? Or is it a pattern I'm repeating from pain? There is profound strength in slowing down the mind just enough to reroute it. You are not a prisoner of your first reaction. You are not obligated to believe every fearful scenario your inner voice tries to paint. The most powerful people are not those who control others, they are the ones who have learned to read the weather of their own spirit and adjust their sails accordingly. You are not here to be swept away. You are here to steer. And even if you find yourself in waters unfamiliar or overwhelming, that does not mean you're lost. It simply means you're being invited into deeper self-mastery. Think of this moment as a divine exercise in navigating emotional winds. You are the captain and the compass. You get to choose how you interpret the signals. You get to shift the energy from reaction to intention. Imagine this as a spiritual climate pattern. A high-pressure front of fear builds subtly until one word, one gesture, feels like a storm. But the truth is, you've already experienced far worse and come through brighter. This storm, if anything, is just your soul reminding you of your authority. You can sit in the eye of this inner hurricane and know, the silence here is not emptiness. It's clarity. And so, Leo, if something shakes you in the coming days, don't rush to fix it or escape it. Observe it. Let your breath be the anchor. Let your awareness be the guide. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me, ask, what inside me is being shown? This is how storms become revelations. You are not the victim of this moment. You are the decoder of it. And once you understand that, you reclaim your ability to change the wind itself. What feels like a collapse may just be the clearing of space for something more honest, more stable, more aligned with who you've actually become. Even a lion, the undisputed ruler of its domain, knows when to be still. It doesn't roar to remind the world of its power, it watches, it listens, it senses the moment when silence is more effective than sound. This is one of the deepest lessons of your journey right now, Leo. What appears as stillness is not weakness. It is a sacred preparation. A gathering of energy. A divine pause that aligns you with the precision of the universe's timing. Because the truth is, your greatest leap forward will never come from panic, it will come from peace. When a lion hides in the tall grass, it is not retreating. It is becoming invisible to the chaos. It is shielding itself not from fear, but from unnecessary distraction. And in that sacred stillness, the lion tunes back into its own rhythm. This is your invitation in the next 3 days to do the same. You are not being asked to fight. You are being asked to focus. Not on the noise of the outside world, but on the light you carry within it. Now is the time to return to the rituals that restore you. Listen to music that heals you not just emotionally, but energetically. Frequencies like 432 Hz are more than sounds. They are realignments, sonic recalibrations that gently guide your nervous system back into trust. Let those frequencies wrap around you like an invisible shield. Close your eyes and let your body remember what it feels like to be safe, because that feeling is not something you find in the world. It's something you reawaken inside yourself. Go back and revisit the dreams you had 3 years ago, the goals you believed in before life got noisy. Read them not with judgment, but with compassion. What were you asking for? What did your spirit desire before the doubts came in? Somewhere in those forgotten intentions is a clue, a spark still alive beneath the ashes. And sometimes, the act of remembering is the most powerful healing you can give yourself. Write a declaration that anchors you. Not something vague or abstract, but something that pulls your truth into the present moment. Something like, I dwell in the shade of divine protection. Nothing can shake me. Because words matter. They are energetic contracts. When you write them down or speak them aloud, you're not just repeating affirmations, you are shifting the structure of your energetic field. You are creating a new frequency that attracts protection, not fear. This is where the law of attraction becomes deeply personal. Most people think it's about visualizing the best-case scenario and waiting for it to arrive. But that's only one side of it. The other side, the real side, is about calming your inner waters so your outer world can reflect back harmony. When your mind is calm, your frequency rises. When your vibration is high, negative patterns, people, and situations can no longer cling to your field. They slide off. They dissolve. And you become less reactive, more magnetic. Hiding isn't running. It's restoring. It's allowing your light to charge behind the scenes, away from judgment, away from expectation. It's letting your nervous system breathe and your energy recalibrate. Leo, this isn't just strategy, it's sovereignty. You are choosing to rule from stillness, and that is the sign of someone who no longer needs the world's approval to validate their own power. You know who you are. And in these quiet moments, that knowing becomes unshakable. So don't rush. Don't speak too soon. Don't react to every nudge or pull. The battle you think is outside of you is actually being fought within your own alignment. And by choosing peace, be choosing to until your spirit says yes, you win a war that most never even see. What happens when your faith becomes more powerful than your fear? That's the question this chapter quietly asks, not with loud answers, but with the kind of silence that settles deep into the soul. Leo, As we journey deeper into this energetic terrain, you are being reminded that your greatest breakthroughs won't come from what you do in the storm but from what you believe about who you are within it. This is the kind of faith that is not loud. It's not performative. It doesn't seek validation. It simply is. And in its presence, everything else, chaos, confusion, doubt, has no choice but to bow. This is not about blind optimism or bypassing what's real. Quite the opposite. This is about anchoring yourself so fully into your own internal truth that external instability can't move you. In astrology, the sign of Leo represents divine leadership, the courage to stand tall even when no one is watching, and the noble strength that comes not from domination but from devotion. And right now, your devotion is not being asked of others. It's being asked of yourself. You are not being called to rush. You're being called to hold steady. There is a difference between reacting and responding, and these 3 days, especially as Neptune casts its fog over your perception, will test that difference. Faith, in this context, becomes the lens that clears the fog. Not through control, but through clarity. Through choosing to believe in your alignment over the noise. Through remembering who you are before the chaos convinced you otherwise. You see, faith is not passivity. It's preparation. Just as Noah built the ark before the storm arrived, you're being asked to stabilize your inner world now, not because something terrible is coming, but because something sacred is unfolding. You don't need to broadcast it. You don't need to prove anything. You simply need to stay rooted. Much like Esther, whose quiet positioning changed the future of her people, your energy held firmly in integrity has ripple effects you cannot yet see. In these moments, it may feel like nothing is happening on the outside. But internally, the structure of your beliefs is shifting. And that's the true prophetic power of this time. You're not here to predict a future that matches your fear. You're here to embody a presence that redefines what's possible. The prophecy is not in what others tell you might happen. It's in what your soul is preparing you to receive if only you choose to remain open to it. Remember, a lion does not panic when the wind changes. It watches. It waits. It adjusts its focus and trusts its timing. You are not the exception. You are the embodiment of that sacred patience. You are not here to spin your wheels or chase down shadows. You are here to stand firm in your identity, even when everything around you feels unsure. This is why your stillness matters. Because while the world seeks noise, your calm becomes a compass not just for you, but for others who are watching you, feeling your energy, and subconsciously taking refuge in your vibration. Whether you realize it or not, you are someone's lighthouse. You are the person who reminds others that being grounded is a form of grace. That knowing when not to act is a higher form of wisdom. That trust is a quiet miracle you practice, one breath at a time. So if the fog thickens, if the storm whispers louder, if your mind starts spinning again, pause. Take a breath. Recall what you already know, that no battle can steal what's already written in the language of alignment. You don't need to chase proof. You only need to protect your peace. Because this, Leo, is what activates the prophecy. Not motion, but belief. Not urgency, but knowing. And in that knowing, everything begins to align. The truth is, Leo, you didn't stumble onto this moment. Something within you was drawn here, pulled not by curiosity alone, but by a subtle alignment you couldn't quite name until now. Because this message, this window of time, and this 3-day portal, it's not just about survival. It's about preparation. Not everyone sees the wave before it rises. But you do. That's part of your soul's design. You are being given foresight not to panic, but to anchor. To move with wisdom instead of fear. And now that you've seen what's ahead, the question becomes, what will you do with it? This is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about moving intentionally. 3 days. 3 challenges. 3 clear actions. Each one becomes a doorway, not only out of confusion but into clarity, protection, and inner realignment. These steps aren't just tasks. They're anchors. They're energetic tools. And when you use them, you're not just reacting to life, you're co-creating with it. Start with this, write something down. Not a journal entry, not a paragraph, just a single sentence of power. Something that affirms your alignment. Something that reminds you of who you are when the fog begins to roll in. Words are not just thoughts made visible, they are energy codified. When you choose them with intention, they act as shields, as mirrors, as maps. They remind your nervous system that even when the external world feels chaotic, your inner truth can remain calm. A phrase like, "I dwell in peace and nothing outside me can shake it," might be all it takes to reset your day, your vibration, and your perspective. Then, go deeper into connection. Type 777 in the comments, not for superstition, but for synchronization. That number has become a code for alignment, a call sign for those who recognize the deeper pattern beneath the noise. When you type it, you're not just responding to a prompt. You're sending a frequency out into the field that says, "I remember who I am. I choose to stay awake, aware, and attuned." And when others see it, it echoes. This is how community and energy form, begins not always in words, but in resonance. Finally, protect your field. These 3 days will try to pull you out of alignment through distraction, arguments, impulsive choices, or urgency that feels important but isn't. When you feel that urge to speak when silence is wiser, to react when stillness is safer, pause. Remind yourself, nothing urgent is truly sacred. Wait for clarity. Not every door needs to be opened. Not every comment needs a reply. Not every discomfort needs resolution right now. Sometimes, your power is in what you choose not to engage. The universe always mirrors your vibration. And right now, it is responding not to what you say, but to the emotional atmosphere you choose to live in. That's why you are being guided to shift your internal climate, to regulate your energy like a sacred caretaker of your own light. There are subtle yet powerful ways to do this. Try a cup of herbal tea that softens your system: chamomile, lotus, anything that grounds you back into presence. Set a timer on your phone that reminds you 3 times a day to pause, breathe, and realign. Avoid caffeine, heavy news cycles, or digital noise that floods your senses. These aren't escapes. They're recalibrations. You're not avoiding reality, you're choosing which reality to tune into. Colors carry frequency too. If you feel scattered, wear navy blue. Brings the mind into order and supports intellectual clarity. If your light feels dimmed, add a touch of pale gold or soft yellow to reignite inner illumination. And if you feel energetically exposed or vulnerable, lavender tones offer a field of subtle protection. These aren't trends theory energetic garments for your spirit. You don't have to control everything. You only need to respond to the moment with quiet power. One choice at a time. And in doing so, you not only protect your peace, you amplify your magnetism. The next 3 days are not about escaping the storm. They're about proving to yourself that you've already become the shelter. Leo, you were never meant to just survive the storm. You were born to hold your light steady while others forget theirs. You are the fire that doesn't flicker when the winds rise. You are the lighthouse when the waves grow wild. And now that you've come to the end of this message, take a moment, breathe in deeply and ask yourself this. What would happen if I truly trusted my stillness? What if the breakthrough I've been waiting for doesn't come by chasing but by anchoring? You are not here by accident. You are being prepared to lead, not through noise or urgency, but through presence. Through clarity. Through quiet choices that ripple outward in ways you may never fully see. And the truth is, the ones who shift the collective frequency are not always the loudest. Often, they are the ones who choose not to react, who choose to observe, who choose to wait for wisdom before moving. That is real power. And that is what you're practicing now. So I ask you, Leo, what energy are you carrying into these next 3 days? Are you willing to protect your vibration the way a guardian protects sacred ground? Will you choose to pause before responding, to listen before speaking, to step back before leaping forward? If the answer is yes, then you are already in alignment with something much greater than fear. You are in alignment with purpose. You've received more than information today. You've received preparation. A map. A gentle but clear call to remember who you are when the world forgets. And I want to invite you now to affirm that commitment, not just within, but outward. Write it into the frequency of this moment. Leave a comment below and type, I take shelter in the light. That small act holds big energy. It signals your readiness. It says, I choose to rise from within. And while you're here, share this video with 3 people because someone you love might be silently weathering a storm you can't see. Let your ripple be their reminder that they are not alone. If this message touched you, if it felt like it spoke to something deeper than words, then I encourage you to subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness. Every video here is created with intention, guided by the rhythms of the stars and the deeper movements of the human soul. This space exists because of you, because of each like, each comment, each moment of presence you've gifted us. So thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for allowing me to walk beside you today. Thank you for showing up for yourself, for listening, for being open. And most of all, thank you for choosing to continue. There is something beautiful unfolding in you. Trust that. Now take what you've heard, not as pressure but as permission. To slow down. To feel deeper. To remember your power. Because when this storm passes, and it will, you won't just be standing. You'll be shining. Not as the person you were, but as the sovereign soul you were always becoming. And that, Leo, is the most powerful transformation of all.